We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the tax rate hearing meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those in the audience joining us this evening. Okay, so we are moving forward with the 2017 tax rate hearing for the Knob-Nuster R8 School District. The Board of Education, the public notice which was circulated through the community, the Board of Education of the Knob-Nuster R8 School District will hold a public hearing in the Knob-Nuster Elementary School cafeteria located at 405 East Weimar Street, Knob-Nuster, Missouri, 65336 at 5:45 p.m. on the 23rd day of August 2017, at which time citizens may be heard regarding the property tax rate proposed to be set by the Knob-Nuster R8 School District for the 2017 tax rate. The purpose of this hearing is to review information concerning the assessed valuation of the school district, the proposed levy for 2017, and the revenues anticipated through the proposed levy. Citizens may comment concerning the tax levy, which will be officially set by the Knob-Nuster Board of Education during open session of the meeting following the hearing. The following is a snapshot of the publication. This notice of public hearing was accompanying information pursuant to RSMO 67.110 was posted in various locations throughout the district in compliance with state statute and board policy. This is the assessed valuation snapshot. We can go through this by line item. Real estate residential is $36,918,714. Real estate agriculture, $4,637,703. Real estate commercial, $5,289,555. Real estate total is $46,845,972. That's up about $846,000 from last year. Personal property, $14,431,640. The locally assessed railroad and utilities real property for this year, $29,080. And the locally assessed road and utilities personal property is $58,570 for a total current valuation of $61,365,262. Included in that amount is $415,300 for new construction. The anticipated revenue from new construction is $14,328. New revenue from reassessment is 0 and percent is 0. The proposed tax levy for 2017 is as follows. In Fund 1, the general fund for operations, $3.1312. Fund 2, special revenue fund, 0. Fund 3, debt service fund is 0. And capital projects fund is $0.0978, So the total all funds is $3.2290 for $100 of assessed valuation. We're going to talk about those just a little bit. So a couple of unique details for this year. This year, when setting the tax levy, we received post-board of equalization numbers from both the Johnson and Pettis County assessors and through the clerk. And what we discovered this year is, go back up a couple slides. This number right here in locally assessed road and utilities, $58,570. You can tell that that's down from last year's number of $178,297. We questioned that number specifically because last year, you may recall, it was listed at 1.74 million. So obviously there was a drop. Long story short, I contacted the clerk, and following the weekly dialogue, we discovered that there was an incorrect amount that was entered by the clerk last year. So essentially what that did is that caused our tax levy to drop last year, as the board knows, and that also dropped our tax rate ceiling. So that's one unique detail going into this year. That number has been corrected. For 2017, the Fund 1 operating levy represents the tax rate ceiling, which was revised upward and increased based on corrections of that 2016 assessed valuation. And then also for this year, in Fund 4 capital projects levy, that 9.78 cents represents a recoupment levy to recover the lost revenue in FY16 due to that error. So essentially what that means is we went back and corrected last year's assessed valuation numbers. And what that does is raises our tax ceiling to where it should have been. To start with, that will correct that issue moving forward. And then that recoupment levy will allow us to go back and recoup approximately $60,000 of lost revenue from last year. After this year, that amount will drop off of the levy. Other unique details, this is completely unrelated, but I wanted to go ahead and do this as well. In a new strategy this year, I'm proposing that a portion of our levy be placed in Fund 4. That's the first time that that's been done in school history, as far back as I can tell, and possibly ever. The reason this is being done is to take advantage of a little-known additional pool of locally assessed railroad and utilities money, which is only accessible by those districts who place a levy in Fund 4. So essentially by levying there, we will be, I believe, one of two districts. There's a smaller district in Johnson County who I believe will also levy in Fund 4, but that will give us and them the opportunity to take advantage of that additional pool of money. Because we're a larger district with larger assessed valuation and more students than that district, we should be able to take the lion's share of that pool of money. So we will see what that produces this year. We do believe it will be a move in the right direction, and it probably will be something we want to go ahead and repeat every year. And we can play with the amount of money that we place on that levy. The main thing there is to keep in mind that that's going to obviously accumulate funds in Fund 4, which clearly we've been doing for the last couple of years. So it would align with that strategy. As a result of that, adjustments in the location of where we place our impact aid monies this year will be made following collection of these revenues. So sometime by February or March, we can determine where how much money we actually recognize from this proposed levy in Fund 4, and then we can adjust where we place our impact aid money. This is just a historical snapshot of what our levy has been. We can see back in 12-13 and every year prior to that, we were at full harmless at $2.75. In that 13-14 tax year, the voters passed for the levy to be increased to $3.50. It remained at $3.50 for 14-15. Then we dropped 20 cents down to $3.30 in 15-16. We dropped to $3.15 in 16-17, and now we're going back up to $3.23 in 17-18. So we're a little higher than what we were last year, but we're significantly lower than the year prior, and still around 28 cents lower than that $3.50, which was approved by our taxpayers. Again, our assessed valuation history, these are our local revenue that's generated off our tax levy. The 16-17 number is the actual number. This is what we anticipated, nearly a break even on our levy and what we will be generating. And this is something that's unrelated to our local levy, but it is something that obviously we watch very closely, and that's our impact aid. For last year, the board was aware that we had a couple of late payments that did not post during the 16 fiscal year. We believe we'll recoup that this year. Last week, 7-8 days ago, we did receive $1 million payment in impact aid. That was the closeout for fiscal year 16. So we're expecting one more payment that would close out the fiscal year 17. But we're shooting for, I'm anticipating somewhere around $6 million in impact aid revenues, which would catch us up for last year, as well as recognize what we expect this year. Our reserve balances by fund. We closed the year out last year with just over $10 million. If impact aid revenues hold as anticipated, I'm anticipating we'll close out around 11 million. And again, we will continue to look at storing some of that excess revenue in Fund 4. Unrestricted reserve history, those are Funds 1 and 2, all of which is typically held in Fund 1. You'll see that we dropped significantly in 15-16. We ended the year at just shy of 65% balances in Fund 1 and 2. We closed last year with a 38% fund balance in Fund 1 and 2. Anticipating we'll close somewhere around 40% this year. I know the board is aware of this, but keep in mind, when we look at that, a lot of people will go, oh my gosh, we went from a 65% reserve down to 38%. But keep in mind, it's because we're accumulating that money, whereas we closed here with 1.6 million in Fund 4. We closed last year with over 4 million in Fund 4. So we're shifting that money from Fund 1 over to Fund 4. Why are we doing that? We can do that for a variety of reasons. I know there's been some talk, Mr. Pinzilli has mentioned on a number of occasions, the option to pay down debt, and that's an option that the board can look at. We also have an option of looking at facilities projects. I know that there are many variables there that we're looking at, but that money can be safely housed there and still have a very robust fund balance in Fund 1. Yes, ma'am.
So Fund 4 is the one that we cannot really, once we put the money in there, we cannot take it back out. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, to move to another fund.
Correct. So there's a little bit of sticker shock there, but I wanted to make sure that we were clear on why we see that difference. So financial forecast and factors. Fortunately, the Naumauster School District, its local effort is enhanced by our federal impact aid pursuant to our educational services provided to the military-connected families of Whiteman Air Force Base. For 17-18, again, we're anticipating around $6 million in impact aid to supplement our local efforts, and that does include the recoupment payments for FY17. The critical factor to watch in the future years is the impact of, again, the new utilities pipeline, how those numbers are going to move. As we know, the pipeline triggered the Hancock Amendment over the last several years, which lowered our tax rate. However, maintaining local effort, as demonstrated by the local tax levy, is a key requirement for impact aid eligibility. So we need to continue to watch that. We are in a safe location right now, but there may come a time where we need to go to our voters again to make sure that our impact aid is protected. In conjunction with this proposed tax rate, impact aid and other anticipated revenue receipts, the district should expect healthy reserve funds near 5 months reserve, or 40% for fiscal year 18. The proposed budget also calls for reserve funds of around 5 million in Fund 4. The approved budget is anticipated to operate as a balanced budget with excess funds accumulating in 10 and 40. Takeaways and talking points for the board. Assessed valuation is up. Pipeline revenues are up. In total, local revenue is up. The local tax levy will increase to recoup from the decrease in locally assessed railroad and utilities personal property. The Naumauster School District tax levy is among the lowest in Johnson County and all other surrounding counties. The local tax levy is a key factor in protecting impact aid and must meet the requirement, which is compared to other comparable districts in the state. The final FY17 impact aid payment was delayed and is reflected in the elevated anticipated funds for FY18. The non-master school district continues to aggressively pursue excellence for our students, employees, and community. And again, non-master public schools, our mission is student success. And that concludes my information for the tax rate hearing. For those that came in after we began, the board is set to establish that local levy in the following regular meeting.
I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye.